YouTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I'm going to talk about my favorites of 2024. So, originally I started out with 25, but I did, after some thinking, there were some of them that were taken off. And I also wanted to stick to ones that I could actually show you the physical copy as well. Which, I know that a favorite is a favorite, and if you don't have a physical copy, that's, I know that's okay, but I want to be able to show it to you guys, be able to have a book to hold up for you guys. I guess maybe next year I could do an honorable mentions or something. Okay, so first book I want to talk about is actually a book that I'm currently rereading. It was kind of one where at first I didn't know if I still wasn't sure how I felt about it, but over time, I feel like it has become a favorite. And that is Touch Me Not by Jose Rizal. This is, the translated title is Noli Me Tangere. I don't know if I'm saying that. I still don't know I'm saying that right. I never learned Tagalog growing up. So I'm sticking to the English translation of the title. And this is a story that takes place during the, when Spain colonized the Philippine Islands. And you have our main character, I think his first name was Juan Ibarra, and he was studying abroad in Europe and is called back to the Philippine Islands after his father died, and he now has to go through the will and take over his family estate and everything. And he's trying to reconnect with his country and reconnect with his betrothed who was in a convent since she didn't want to be with anyone else. And it's a very sad story because it deals with what happened to the Filipino people and how badly they were treated by the Spanish and by the Catholic Church during this time. And how there were, of course, there were rebels, people, natives who were trying to fight back. And Ibarra, they try to recruit our main character, Ibarra, to join them. And so it's a very, gut-punching story, and a lot of stories about colonialism. And it's just, but it was such a good and important read. And as I said when I started this project, I want people to read more Filipino literature, because I feel like this is the Asian culture that you don't hear a lot about. And the author of this is a national hero in the Philippines. And I did actually receive another, as a gift from Terry. She did give me another one of his works that I'm going to read. But yeah, so this is just really good and definitely worth, if you want to learn more about the Philippine Islands, it's definitely worth checking out. So then the next one is A Gentleman in Moscow by M.R. Tolles. I read his first book, Rules of Civility, and I liked that one. But so far, this one is my favorite. I've not read The Lincoln Highway yet, but I do want to at some point. This is about a young prince who's, let me get his name. I couldn't think of his name last time when I was trying to think about what I wanted to say in this video. Alexander Rostov is an aristocrat who he's basically under house arrest in this hotel that he does love, but he can't go anywhere. This is during the Russian Revolution, so it's about his day-to-day life in this hotel and his life passing him by because, the country is in turmoil and, people are rebelling against the aristocrats, and, it's about his relationships with all the people, the residents and the employees of the hotel. And there's one particular employee who gives him a difficult time and just wants to get rid of him. He makes friends with this little girl and forms a strong bond with her that translates to her daughter as she becomes an adult herself and becomes a mother. he forms a bond with this woman's daughter as well. And it's just it's a very tragic but beautiful and kind of cozy in a way. Like, even though, yes, he's trapped in this hotel and there is a sense of claustrophobia with this story, I also feel there is a warmth to it, a comfort to it. Seeing this guy who is just very content, like, he's not happy, and he's lonely and wishes he could leave, but he also makes the best of the situation and tries to adapt the best he can and charms all these people with a few exceptions. And it's such a cozy book, and I think it's great for this time of year, actually, although I did not read it during the winter time. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. And then we have the sequel to Anne of Green Gables, which is Anne of Avonlea, where Anne is now a young woman, and she has become a teacher, and, she's struggling to be the best teacher she can be, but she also doesn't want to hurt these kids, punish these children. Everyone keeps telling her that children will be, disobedient. Children will be, they'll need discipline, and she doesn't want to do that. And just her struggle with being a good teacher and finding ways to help her students. There's one particular student that gives her trouble, and also just making the friends that she makes. Matthew is gone in this book, is gone by this book, and her and Marilla having to adjust to that. And then also there's this little story with these kids that she ends up having, these twins that they end up taking in and raising after their mother, who is Marilla's cousin, I think, ends up dying, and so they have to take in these kids, and there's all these shenanigans the kids get into. The little boy is such a brat, and it drove me nuts. But it's just the Anne of Green Gables series is just so sweet and comforting. It's a great, I feel like the best time to read her books, this is during the springtime. I haven't bought the third book yet. I would like to at some point, but I have to be in the right mood for this kind of writing and this type of story. But it's still, I just love this. This was such a comfort read for me, and that's Anne of Avonlea. So we go from some cozy stories to one that's kind of more sad than Gentleman in Moscow, which is When Elephants Dance, another Filipino literature by Tessa Yuriza Holt. And this is set during World War II, and the Japanese took over the Philippines. So once again, another country controlling their country, controlling them. And this family is trapped, has to stay with their friends in this one house, and and some of the kids in this family are still out in the real world, and they're trying to get back to their parents in this house, in this cellar. It kind of makes me think of Anne Frank, The Diary of Anne Frank, in a way, with its being in World War II, and these people trapped in this cellar, this home where they are not safe. And the beginning scene is just brutal. It's, a very traumatizing moment. And you also, throughout the story, the characters are being told these stories of the past that teach lessons, life lessons that are important to people in the Philippines and to their culture. And it's another heart-wrenching story, and I think it's a little bit harder than Gentleman in Moscow because you see more of the brutality, the way the Japanese treated these people, and their family just trying to stay together, and the importance of family, and how your family will always be there for you. And there are characters that have to make difficult choices in this, characters that have to decide whose side they are on. And there's no right or wrong with these characters and the sides that they choose. I feel like it's a very complicated situation. And again, I feel like it's a story that needs to be told. That I want to hear more people being exposed to the story, hear more about this story. It's just as important as what happened to the Jews, I think. what is just as important what happened to what's important to happen to the Filipinos is just as important as what happened to the Jews. And I want more people to read about it. So that's When Elephants Dance by Tessa Yuriza Holf. Okay, and now we have another Filipino. We have two actually that I'm gonna. Then we have Arlene J. Chai's The Last Time I Saw Mother. This is a story about a mother-daughter, very complicated mother-daughter relationship, and how this woman, it starts with these sisters, and one of them, I think, if I remember correctly, couldn't get pregnant, and the other one did get. It's been so long since I read this, but I just remember these feelings of how it was about the importance of mother-daughter relationships, and how, keeping secrets from your family, and this are one of, and again, the importance of family, and how, like, sometimes keeping secrets, even if it's with good intentions, is not good and can cause harm. And, trying to decide who your true, who is your true parent, your true mother, your true family, like, in, the idea of one, even if they are your adopted mother, it doesn't mean they love you any less. It doesn't make them any less your mother. And it's just, and also there is a sense of storytelling because there's two stories in there. We have the past story that led to the present day situation, and we also have what's going on in the present. And, like I said, I wish I could remember it better, the details better, because it has been since probably, like, this May when I read this, and it's just, and, and I, it's also, I picked this book because, not just because it's, Filipino literature, but during May, but also, because Mother's Day, and this is about mother-daughter relationships. And it was just really good, and, I really enjoyed it, and it's just, like I said, it's so hard for me to talk about it. It has been a while. But, yeah, this is good. And I just noticed the time. I have to start getting ready because I have an appointment, so I'm probably gonna, turn this into 2 parts, and just talk about the last book, and then, this last book, and then I will continue the last 3 piles of books this evening. I'll see how I feel, because, I'm gonna, might be a little drowsy later, so this will be so let me talk about my last book, which is Viajero. And this is not the only book by this author. I've read F. Sonil Jose. I've read a couple of his books so far this past year. This also, it doesn't take place during World War II, but it starts in World War II, where this, I think is he American? Finds this little boy that his parents were killed during World War II, and he's kind of been abandoned in the jungles. And this man finds him. I think he's a professor, and he takes this kid back to San Francisco and raises him as his own. And let me see what is his. I cannot remember his American name, but he raises him, and then this young man, starts to, as he gets older, he starts to wonder about his Filipino heritage and about his family in the Philippines, even though he loves his adopted family, his parents, his adopted father, I think the guy was married, yeah, because he has a sister as well. So he loves his adopted family. He has a very close bond with his sister, who is very confused, very lost. I mean, in fact, his story kind of parallels the sister's story, and he ends up getting an opportunity to go to the Philippines and do his part to help get to know the Philippine culture and reconnect with his heritage. And in a way, I feel like I can relate to that, because I feel like that is what I'm doing with reading all this Filipino literature. In a small way, at least. Not in a big way. Not in the way that the main character does. but in a small way, I'm doing something similar. And he actually gets to go to the Philippines and, puts himself in kind of a dangerous situation, but he feels he has to do this. It is the right thing to do. And it's so, again, it's about culture and reconnecting with your culture and finding out who you are and your identity and a relationship between a brother and sister. And he said both their journeys parallel each other. Like, she's also trying to find herself and find her way in the world, find her identity. And it's just such... It's a short book, but it's so good. And, I love that he gets to go back to the Philippines and rediscover this culture and do his part to help these people. And it's so good, and such an engaging story. And I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the Philippine literature I've read so far. Okay, so that's the last one I'm going to talk about for this video. I have several more to go, but I have to go and be somewhere later. So this will be continued. So to be continued. All right.